this in earnest. 51 years ago this month, there was a birthday party. A birthday party for a woman named Marsha P. Johnson, a trans Black woman. And she held this birthday party at one of the few places that was fairly safe for her and her friends, many of whom shared her identities, to gather. A place called the Stonewall Inn in New York City. And it wasn't a very safe place because there was no safe place to be a trans woman of color then. There still aren't many now. And regularly the police would come and arrest people because then it was illegal to dress in the clothes that were not of the gender that you were assigned at birth. It was illegal to be a bar that catered to LGBTQ folks. Everything that we think of as normal for members of the queer community was illegal then, more or less. And so that night, like many nights, the police came to disrupt the party and start arresting people. And as a butch lesbian was being dragged out of the bar, her name has been lost to history, she looked around at everyone else there and said, "Why don't you do something?" And Marsha P. Johnson, the woman whose party it was, picked up her shot glass, yelled, "I want my civil rights," and threw that shot glass to the mirror behind the bar where it shattered. And that action and those words released something, released the rage and the fear and the frustration of that community. And they fought back with what tools they had, which included breaking windows and throwing bricks. They scared the police away that night, and the next night, and the next night. This was not the first time that there had been resistance to police brutality like this, but this time was different. This time birthed a movement. It's a moment that we now call the Stonewall Uprising or the Stonewall Rebellion or the Stonewall Riots. At the time, people called it Christopher Street Liberation Day. And I tell that story today because the parallels between that day and our current moment are powerful. A group of people demanding to be treated equally under the law and by the police. The most marginalized pushing a movement forward. And it's good to tell this story on the weekend that would have been the Pride Festival in Kalamazoo, had that not been postponed and canceled due to the pandemic we are living through. And it's also good to tell that story because it was years before people knew that that event had birthed a movement. It was about 4 years later that there was a Christopher Street Liberation Day observance, which became Pride. It takes time. And I want to know what's coming out of this present moment, both in terms of the pandemic and in terms of the movement for Black lives. I want resolution. And we don't get that yet. But we know that when organized people take action, it can make a difference. So I am so grateful to all of you who are making our values real in the world in all of the ways you are acting. And we know that this is a generational effort. So on this day when we celebrate some of our youth, let us commit to creating a world that is worthy of all of our children. A world where all children are treated with kindness and compassion and equality under law, and in human relations, and in all of the ways. A world where everyone knows how beloved they are. So come, let us gather. Come, Let us commit and recommit and be inspired to go out and do the work we are called to do. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. I'm Tim Bardick, and I'm here, or at least virtually here, as a member of the Sunday Services Committee, and I'd like to welcome all of you to People's Church, a community that can survive the necessity of physical distancing with a little creativity. A special welcome to anyone visiting this Zoom service, and we hope it brings a spirit of loving kindness to your lives. People's Church is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association. It's part of a long tradition of liberal religion. Liberal religion means that we believe in some eternal principles, such as the inherent worth and dignity of each and every human being, and the need for justice in this world. But we also believe in the necessity of change. We all need a religious education every day. We need to open our eyes to what is going on in the world, and we need to be willing to change our views and our actions as the facts on the ground demand. As George Orwell once said, quote, "To see what is in front of one's own nose needs a constant struggle," unquote. Let us be people of change with the hope that with love and open eyes, we may someday, somehow, figure out how to build the beloved community.
All right, good morning. Our first song is Filled with Loving Kindness. The words are in the chat. Here we go. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well, may I be peaceful and at ease, may I be whole, may you be filled with loving kindness, may you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
For our chalice lighting this, we gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together.
I have several announcements this morning. The first is that in celebration of our youth who are becoming young adults today, we are having a special young adult breakout room during our coffee hour. And if you are someone who identifies as a young adult and would like to be part of this welcoming reception for our Bridgers, please let me know. So you can send me a message directly in the group chat would be the best way to do that if you haven't told me before today. And I will put you in that special meeting room. And we're going to experiment with trying some special breakout rooms after the service for other groups over the next while. The next announcement is we are taking the smallest steps towards reopening the church building. So we're starting to have staff in the building who can't work elsewhere. And this means we need to be very aware of who is in the building and where they are in the building. So and we know that people love the church building, and many of you sort of treat it as a second living space sometimes, which is great. And right now, I need you all to be in touch with me or Chris in the church office if you're going to be in the building. We want to make sure everything is sanitized after use, and we do not have very many people in the building at a time. So thank you for that. We're hoping that we can continue to step more and more back into that space, but it will be slow. And this is just the first step. Next announcement is next Sunday during the service, we're planning to have a new member welcoming ritual. So if you are someone who has been thinking about joining the church, consider this an extra invitation to participate. So if that is something that's interesting to you and you would like to be celebrated next Sunday, please be in contact with me or Chris in the church office in the next couple days. And next Sunday is the Sunday we usually have our flower service. And for obvious reasons, we are reimagining what that looks like. In the next few days, almost every church household that we have an address on record for will be receiving a special mailing with an object to use in a ritual in that service. So watch for that. And we also would like all of you to, especially those of you who join the service on video, to bring a flower to the service. So that could be wearing a floral shirt. That could be having some cut flowers beside you. You could get a big bag of flour from your kitchen. I invite you to be as creative as you can. And so when we look at one another, we can see all of these flowers in our screens. Those are our announcements. People's people are generous people. And this week, the line from one of the songs we sing has been echoing in my head. We sometimes sing, "I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find." And in this week, when things have been feeling hard and uncertain, as they have been for weeks and weeks, I have been so grateful for your inspiration, for your action, for the ways that I have been seeing you make our values real in the world. That has made me a better person and a more hopeful person right now. And we know it's not enough because it is never enough, but I am so grateful to have this community where people are committed to building the beloved community, for acting out of love towards justice, and having this base to return to be inspired by through your social media postings, your emails, and our conversations has made such a difference in my life. I trust it has in yours as well. So continue to be the generous people that you are. And this is your invitation to continue to support this church with your money. Please give generously. The details on how to do that electronically are in the chat box, but we will take payment however you want to send it. Thank you.
In my darkest days, eyes run dry. You are here now, till I lose my mind. I can see your face all the time. Please don't leave now, 'cause I'm not alright. Empty hearts just lay across the floor, and they just stay there, 'cause they're never sure. And you found mine there and held it close. I never knew how to love someone. All I know is you. Don't let go, we'll make it through. And though the world has changed, we have stayed exactly the same. In this endless cave, I see light. Let's find our way out, holding tight. Shaky hands in place, intertwined. I can see now how I lost my mind. All I know is you. Don't let go, we'll make it through. And though the world has changed, we have stayed exactly the same. You have stayed the same all my life, but I have changed now, but never lost sight. But I have lost my place, and that's just fine, 'cause you're here now, and I'll be alright.
You could join me in reading the words for giving thanks. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life and love and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love which none of us can accomplish alone.
As we begin our meditation time this morning, I invite you all to take several deep breaths with me to begin. As we ground ourselves in our bodies, in the present moment, in this place and this time, I invite you to silently say along in your mind's eye with me. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. And breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, my breath grows deep, and breathing out, my breath grows slow. Breathing in, I dwell in the present moment. And breathing out, I know that this is a wonderful moment. As we breathe together in this surreal time of living in the midst of a global pandemic, combined with social uprisings, crying for justice and equity for our Black and brown brothers and sisters, siblings, loved ones, friends. We are living in a time of so much change, where much is uncertain. It is in these times when so many feelings rise to the surface, demanding our attention. Whatever feelings are apparent within you at this time, I invite you to pay attention to them with tenderness and with curiosity. As we take a deep breath together, I invite you to simply notice what is present in your heart right now. What do you notice in your body? What is true in your spirit right now? Do you notice feelings of hope for change amidst these feelings of concern or worry and uncertainty? Whatever you are noticing or feeling, I invite you to regard it with as much gentleness and compassion as you can muster for yourself. Take deep breaths and just be present with yourself. As you tenderly notice what is true for you right now at this time, I just wish to remind you that you are not alone. We are here together. We are supporting each other in this journey as it unfolds and it twists and it turns in ways that we can't even imagine. Remember that there is a greater love that is holding us all, and that we can rest in this love. May it be so.
There is a love holding us. There is a love
Over the past few weeks, I've asked a number of you the question, what have you learned this year? Here are answers from some people's people. I've learned to be an electrician's assistant. I have learned so many animal facts as I read the same 2 books about animals to my children over and over and over again. Relatedly, I learned how much I value the library. I have learned that my grandchildren bring fresh eyes to my tired view of the world, and they inspire me in new ways. I learned that I'm not as big of an introvert as I thought I was. I learned to Zoom and how good it can feel to see others' faces when you talk to them, when we aren't seeing many people in person. I've learned that I rely very heavily on routines to function in my daily life, so I feel chaotic when those routines are disrupted. I feel like I've become an amateur epidemiologist as I learned about virus transmission, as I tried to figure out the best way to keep the people I work with safe. The COVID crisis showed me how all of us, all human beings, are one on this planet. I learned we have so much work to do as a country to create more equality in most everything. I have learned injustice is so disturbing that it is hard to stay focused on how to be part of change. Change requires so much work. Over the past year and underlined in the past few weeks, I have learned that white people urgently and also persistently need to engage other white people in anti-racist learning, behavioral change, and policy change. I learned that I am both privileged and vulnerable. And a note from one of our children. I learned to ride a bike with no training wheels. And more importantly, adds his mother, he fell, cried, and then got back up and rode again. We have video footage of this learning to share with you all.
Hi, buddy. Good job, bud. You went 5 feet and then you're doing it on your own. That's awesome.
So the next reading is a transcript of a video that was made by Wiretap, which is a Canadian radio show. And so in the video, there's a series of people who share advice with their younger selves. It begins with a 7-year-old offering her advice to her 6-year-old self. Dear 6-year-old, training wheels are for babies. Just let go already. Regards, a 7-year-old. Dear 7-year-old, no matter what anyone says, stay weird. Signed, an 8-year-old. Dear 8-year-old, find your babysitter's weakness, then use it against them. Signed, a 9-year-old. Dear 9-year-old, don't get involved with the popular kids. They're narcissistic capitalists that know nothing about politics. Signed, a 12-year-old. Dear 12-year-old, ask her to dance. Just trust me on this one. Signed, a 16-year-old. Dear 16-year-old, don't let your mom throw away your Legos. Signed, an 18-year-old. Dear 18-year-old, Go easy on the makeup. You're not as ugly as you think. Love, a 19-year-old. Dear 19-year-old, just because it's an all-you-can-eat buffet does not mean you need to eat all you can. Your parents have better interest rates than your credit card. If he says he has a weekend home in the suburbs, he's married. That rust protection undercoating, it's actually a great deal. Whatever you do, never order the salad from a truck stop. Dear 28-year-old, back up your hard drive now. Dear 30-year-old, getting laid off can be a blessing in disguise. Being a starving artist only works if you actually make art. Always be kind to your family. You'll need each other when times get tough. Stop panicking. Being a single mom is an incredible thing. Dear 36-year-old, stop worrying so much about what other people think. They're not thinking about you at all. Signed, a 47-year-old. Dear 47-year-old, a midlife crisis does not look good on you. Signed, a 48-year-old. Dear 48-year-old, always tell the truth, except when it comes to your online dating profile. Dear 51-year-old, one cat is enough cats. Signed, a 53-year-old. Dear 53-year-old, it's never too late to try something new. I've decided to take my husband's Corvette and go to racing school. If Paul Newman could do it, why can't I? Dear 72-year-old, spend all your money. Otherwise, your kids are going to do it for you. Sincerely, an 85-year-old. Dear 85-year-old, indulge your sweet tooth. You'll need dentures soon anyway. Dear 88-year-old, cultivate younger friends. Otherwise, yours will all die off. Sincerely, 91-year-old. Dear 91-year-old, don't listen to other people's advice. Nobody knows what the hell they're doing. Signed, a 93-year-old.
Let it go, let it roll right off your shoulder, don't you know? The hardest part is over, let it in. Let your clarity define you in the end. We will only just remember how it feels. Our lives are made in these small hours, these little wonders, these twists and turns of fate. Time falls away, but these small hours still remain. Let it slide, let your troubles fall behind you, let it shine until you feel it all around you, and I don't mind. If it's me you need to turn to, we'll get by. It's the heart that really matters in the end. Our lives are made in these small hours, these little wonders, these twists and turns of fate. Time falls away, but these these small hours, these small hours still remain. All of my regret will wash away somehow, but I cannot forget the way I feel right now. In these small hours, these little wonders, these twists and turns of fate, time falls away. But these small hours, these small hours still remain. Oh, they still remain. These little wonders, these twists and turns of fate, time falls away. But these small hours, these little wonders still remain.
That was beautiful, Lillian. I want to tell you a tale. This is a tale of 3 little kids who started coming to people's church to play, to explore, to learn together. And it's also a tale of all the wonderful leaders who showed up to support them, to guide them, and to help them grow. As the years passed, more kids joined this group of these 3 who started together. They had a lot of fun together growing up, and every year new adults stepped up to walk alongside these kids. They guided them through learning about Unitarian Universalism, our principles and key figures in our history. They guided them in learning about world religions, gods and goddesses, and how people worshiped around the world. They guided them in learning about peace and social justice and how to bring more equity and compassion into this world. They took them outside and they learned about our 7th principle about environmental education, about the interdependent web of life, of which we are all one strand, and help them to learn their place in that. Through the years, the kids also learned about their own bodies, how they work, how to keep them safe and whole. They learned about relationships and how to keep them mutual and respectful. Because so many adults stepped up through these years, the kids got to enjoy sleepovers and outings with their church friends. They ate together, they played together, and they watched these adults model our Unitarian Universalist principles, ideals, and values by watching how they help the kids navigate times of challenge or conflict with one another. They enjoyed People's Church, Peace and Nature Camp, Mystic Lake, UU Middle School retreats, weekends, UU youth conferences with youth from around the region. Their time with their peers and adult volunteers at People's Church each week helped them to grow, explore, and make sense of their world by demonstrating for them and reminding them about the important values of kindness, equity, honesty, justice, integrity. As these children grew into young adults, into youth and young adults, many of them espoused these values into their own hearts and their own lives and have chosen to live them out in the world. But none of this would be possible if not for the dedication, for the time, and the love of all these wonderful volunteers. As our religious education program has grown through the years, so has our need for adult volunteers increased. We are blessed that so many have stepped up to answer the call year after year to lead and to guide our children and our youth. So at this time, I would like to say a giant thank you to all those who have served our congregation this year by leading our children and our youth. And at the risk of chaos, I would like to unmute everybody for 30 seconds. And as we do that, I invite you all to clap and cheer at the same time to express our gratitude to this year's religious education volunteers.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much. Yay! Let's hear it for the volunteers. Yay! Good work. See you next year.
Way to go.
Yeah, Rick Johnson.
Hey!
Oh, here's those Yetis.
All right.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so
Diane, I just
Thank-
muted you when I muted everybody else.
That's fine.
You need to hear
Thank
that
you.
again.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for acknowledging our volunteers. Now I'd like to take a few minutes to introduce and welcome our 8th graders who are bridging up into our high school group. So I am going to share their names as I show their faces, so those who are on the phone will still know what's happening. So first, I'd like to welcome Liam Rutherford. Ian Webster. Brandon Strom. Aiden Schluter. Elliot Spolstra. Ethan Mochta, sorry that your eyes were almost closed in that picture, Ethan. Dominic McCrainer. Rohan Marion. Maggie Marr. Sam Kirkwood. Ezra Balden. Clarice Sang. Vice Evergreen. And Robbie Christo. We welcome our 8th graders up into our high school group, and we are excited to have you joining us this year in YRUU, whatever that may look like. We don't actually know, but we are glad to have you with us. And now, as we move into honoring our seniors, before we hear the senior statements, we'll begin with a slideshow video presentation of their journey from when they began at People's Church up through this day. And so I hope you enjoy this visual of our RE program and their experience. Thank you.
And now that we've visually seen a bit of their journey, we get the pleasure of hearing from a few of these youth of what this time at People's Church has meant to them and what they plan on for their next steps. So we're going to begin with Josie. We're going to begin with Ethan.
Hi, my name is Ethan Semmelbauer. I'm a senior at Loynorix High School, and I've been attending Peoples for just about my entire life. One of my overall favorite memories of coming here was getting to see Diane's dogs every week, since my mom would never let me get my own. I remember having a blast at Peace in Nature Camp when I was little, going to sleepovers, attending owl classes, and going to cons. I also really appreciated the opportunities to play music for the service, first with Roasted Peanuts, then with Rainbow Oblivion, and finally as a solo performer. While I hardly ever think about my beliefs as an individual, one thing I appreciate is that Peoples has allowed me to sit down and either discuss or listen to different ideas from different people just for a few hours each week. This fall, I'll be attending Western Michigan University as an exploratory major with a focus in music. I hope to graduate with a degree in music education in order to become a high school band director so that I can give to others the gift that made my life so wonderful. I just want to say a special thank you to Diane, all the RE teachers, and of course the rest of the congregation for all your tremendous support for all these years. Thank you.
And now we will hear from Josie.
Unmute. Okay. Well, hello. My name is Josie Allen, and I first came to People's Church when I was 6 years old. And to be honest, I don't remember much from that year. In fact, the earliest I can remember is being a part of Roasted Peanuts. Yeah, remember that band? I had a lot of fun doing all sorts of plays and music with the rest of the group. But eventually, I got bored of it and dropped out. Quite a few Sorry, that was Damien. Quite a few times, I looked back on those days and felt myself regretting that decision. But since then, I've moved on to other things. Middle school Owl was also an adventure for me. From watching awkward slides to putting condoms on wooden stakes. One moment I remember fondly is when we had to do a skit about putting on condoms, and a sentence that I was originally going to say, but decided against it because it's really not acceptable for church, I don't think, somehow made it into the skit. And who could forget the trips to Mystic Lake Middle School camp? The times I've been there, the atmosphere just felt comfortable, and I've missed it a lot since the last time I was there. During coming of age, I finally discovered who I really was. I found myself believing in karma, as well as enjoying being in a random part of the People's Church forest for 4 hours while making faith statements. 2 years later, I still believe all that. The concept of heaven and hell still terrify me a little bit, and I find that when I'm bored, I usually take a short walk around my apartment. In the future, I plan on working at a small job, which small job I haven't decided yet, to earn money for college, where I want to learn to teach English as a second language. Maybe I'll move to Japan, maybe some other country, or I might stay here. But we'll see how things go. I'm hoping to start at KVCC and move to either Western Michigan or Kalamazoo College. After about 10 years of being a member of People's Church, I've grown to like the community and how homely this place feels to me. The YRUU program is sort of like a family to me, and leaving now just feels like walking away from home. But now that I'm here, I think it's time to say goodbye to the YRUU. I'll miss you guys. And that's it.
Yay!
I'm Lillian Gates, and for as long as I can remember, I've been going to People's Church. A lot of you can probably still remember when I was in preschool, have seen me grow from a small 3-year-old to who I am today. And throughout these years of growth, I have made a lot of things. I have made memories, from exciting specialty classes to insightful worship. I have made art, from folding origami to painting, decorating the walls of this church. I have made music, singing melodies I love and seeing the light in people's eyes as they listen. I have made friends of all ages, from my fellow graduates to the young children with big dreams and even bigger hearts. I sometimes even joke that I've made new parents, people who care for me, showing me kindness and acceptance that I will never forget. As I go to Western Michigan University to study computer information systems, I will continue to make things. I will continue to make music and friends and memories. And even though I'm moving on to a new chapter of my life, I will never forget the things I have learned, the experiences I've had, the connections I've made with the people here. I will never stop spreading my music and my kindness and my love, and I will always know that I am welcome here. Thank you for making my childhood a wonderful one.
Okay. Hello, my name is Maggie Grabmeyer, and I've been attending People's Church for as long as I can remember. Through the years, not only have I learned about who I want to be and who I am, but I learned the importance of community. Whether I came to church every Sunday morning or if I only came once every month, I knew that I would come to a place where I was accepted and it was more than okay to be myself. People's Church has become a home to me, and I'm internally grateful for everything that I've learned, the memories, the friends that I've made, and most importantly, for giving me a foundation of principles that I live by. These 7 principles have grown into the things that I value the most in life and have shaped the way that I see the world. Throughout my 4 years in high school, the 7 principles have helped me more than I could have ever imagined. 2 years ago, one of my friends, Nate, for his senior speech, he wrote letters to himself for each year he was in high school about the things he wished he would have known. And I'm going to be doing the same thing, but incorporating the 7 principles. Dear freshman year me, this year I'd say you see so much change in not only yourself, but the world that you live in. Transitioning into high school isn't as easy as you thought it'd be, but overall, I'd say you handled it like a champ. One thing I wish you would have known is that in the fall, Ethan gets diagnosed with cancer. Being someone who never truly believed in God up to this point in your life, you start to become so scared knowing that there is nothing you can do to make sure he would get better or make sure that he could live through it. So it's at this time in your life that you start to put faith in God. You'll pray every morning and every night for Ethan to recover and to continue to spread joy and laughter everywhere he goes. When I think about this, I think of the 4th principle, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. One of the things you'll ask God is why. You'll try for so long to find meaning behind what was happening and why Ethan of all people. But being from People's Church, you understand that asking these questions and building your own faith is extremely important and that you can make your faith anything you want it to be. Understanding the 4th principle helps you handle the stress of Ethan's diagnosis. The biggest piece of advice I have for you is to never lose sight of what's important to you. Dear sophomore year me, this year was easily, without a doubt, the worst year of high school. But luckily for you, you're one of the strongest people that I know, and you'll surprise yourself by the way you put yourself back together again. There's a lot that I want to tell you about this year, but the thing you should know the most is that Ethan dies. This literally turns your world upside down, and you are in no way prepared for this. I wish I could tell you how to prepare for it, but in all honesty, no one can be prepared for the death of one of their best friends at the age of 15. But beyond Ethan's passing, the hardest thing you'll deal with is being angry at God. At this point in your life, you prayed for 2 years, every night and every morning for Ethan's recovery. You're going to be so mad at God for ignoring your prayers because everyone says God listens. You'll struggle with why he ignored you, and if this was a part of his plan, then his plan really sucks, and you're going to be angry for a long time. But even though you turned away from your faith, some people grew even further into their faith. This reminds me of the 3rd principle, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. Although you lose your faith in God and you get so angry when it comes to anything God related, you were still able to respect that other people handled their grief differently, and you're still able to push other people to grow in their faith, even if it was the opposite of what you were doing. My advice to you this year is to go spend more time with Ethan and to not take the time that you spend with the people you love for granted. Dear junior year me, this year is a huge year of growth for you. I know that at this point you're starting to get worried about your future because in school there isn't much that you're passionate about. There's two things that I want you to know about this year. The first thing I want you to know is that you finally come out to some of your family and all of your friends, and you realize how much happier you are being yourself. The second thing I want you to know is that you become super passionate about politics. You joined a congressional campaign during the 2018 election as an intern. In less than an hour, you'll realize that this is the way that you want to help people in your future, by helping make policies that benefit the most people. You develop a better understanding of democracy and this country. This reminds me of the fifth principle, the right of conscience and the use of democratic process within our congregations and society at large. By seeing the democratic process from within the process itself was one of the greatest learning experiences you'll ever have. You'll soon gain respect for democracy in the way that the people in this country aren't afraid to say what they want and show that with the way that they vote, even if you don't agree. My biggest piece of advice for you this year is still to not take the time that you spend with the people you love for granted, but also don't be afraid to open yourself up to people because you'll be amazed at the amount of friends you'll make if you do. Dear senior year me, this is the hardest letter I'm writing to you. Not because this year was hard or anything, but because when I think of senior year me, it's not that different than right now me. This year, you take some of your biggest steps outside of your comfort zone. The thing I want you to know the most about this year is you're going to meet some of the best people you've ever met in your whole life. Meeting new people has always been difficult for you, especially following Ethan's death. You'll have a lot of anxiety about getting close to people because you understand that when you go to bed at night, you'll have no idea who won't wake up in the morning. You'll slowly begin to realize that closing yourself off from people is the wrong way of dealing with your grief. As much as you wish you could have met these friends way earlier in life, it is clear to me now why it's at this point in your life that you meet them. Although we're all different, we understand that in order to be the best versions of ourselves, we need to learn from each other and support each other in our lives. And this reminds me of the seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. We respect our differences and use them to grow and to encourage each other on the path of life. Although I said that you're pretty much the same me that's writing this, the one difference is how happy I am. You will get there, trust the process. Your friends will bring so much joy into your life. My one piece of advice for you this year is to open yourself up and have fun. Although I only mentioned 4 of the 7 principles, I will continue to carry the principles in my life. These are the foundations to my values, so thank you to everyone because even if we've never had a conversation, People's Church is family to me, and I will never forget the amazing things you've all brought into my life. And I also would like to thank Diane and the rest of the RE teachers and my friends and my family. Next year, I will be attending James Madison College at Michigan State University to study political theory and constitutional democracy in hopes to continue to law school and change the world. Again, thank you all so much. That's it.
Beautiful job. My gosh, we have some amazing, amazing young people. It gives me great hope in the future of this world. So now I'd like to just share a little bit about Nick Henderson. Nicholas Henderson is the son of Scott and Kelly Henderson. He's a Parchment High School graduate, class of 2020. Nick began the band program in 6th grade, and he was a member of the Parchment Marching Band, playing the cymbals, which he loved far more than the concert season. He pushed through his AP classes and had enough credits to graduate right before the pandemic caused the schools to close. He is a passionate gamer who enjoys photography and spending time with animals. Nick was involved at People's Church since the age of 3, enjoying Peace and Nature Camp, OWL classes, youth conferences, and more. Nick is planning to attend KVCC in the fall and then transferring to WMU.
And Lily Henley is another one of our Bridgers. Her family prepared these words to share with you all. Lily Henley, daughter of Jenny Henley and granddaughter of John and Sandy Steele, graduated in March from Kalamazoo Central High School after making the decision to homeschool her senior year. Lily found her passion and talent for hip hop, African and modern dance in high school, and has been a member of Rooted Youth Dance Company for the past 3 years. She's excited to now transition into teaching and choreographing for Rooted in Youth. You can find Lily working at her job at Harding's or hanging out with her family and many good friends. Lily is a wonderful example of perseverance through hardship, and we are so proud of her accomplishments. And so now we are going to offer a series of blessings to our Bridgers. I see some of you writing blessings already in the chat box, and I encourage you to do that. Our first blessing is in the form of a poem from Don Miller, who's been a teacher of these youth.
It's always been an honor to work with these students, and so thinking of them moving out into the world, the seniors, I wrote this. It's called In the Deepest Quiet. You step into the unknown, bringing all you are to this bridge. Out of a storybook or dream, this bridge no one has crossed for 100 years or ever. The other side is veiled in haze, barely visible. You cannot know if there is land safe enough to walk on. The truth, your truth, is locked up in a question, a seed or a magic box in your pack. When opened, you will find it all. You will find it all again: home, yourself, beauty, love, waiting, always waiting in the quiet. Thank you.
And another blessing. A blessing that I put together for our Bridgers several years ago and seems to still speak to this moment. So Liam and Lillian and Lily, Elliot, Ethan and Ethan, Ian, Brandon, Aiden and Rohan, Nick and Dominic, Josie, Maggie and Robbie, Bice, Clarice, Ezra and Sam. On this threshold moment, as you bridge into our youth program and out of our youth program, it is my privilege to offer you a blessing. We have tried to teach you that this world is beautiful and heartbreaking, that every person is worthy, that we are connected to each other in a vast interdependence. We have tried to show you that when we join together, we can transform ourselves and transform the world. We have tried to encourage you to ask the big questions and seek the truth, and to create community across difference. There are a few things we know for sure. We know that love can overcome fear, and none of us has an exclusive claim on truth. So, dear ones, we commission you to go into the world and live your truth with love. The world needs you and all of us to live out all the truth and all the love we can muster. Here, when we dedicate ourselves to our children, we hope that their thoughts and words and deeds create more love, hope, and joy in the world. We still hope that for you now, in a new way than what we hoped when you were young children. So now we hope that you continue to seek truth and create community. Now we hope that you move out of comfort and privilege on behalf of those who don't have either. Now we hope that you remember how precious you are and how precious everyone else is too. Now we hope that we bring you we hope that you bring the good news we have tried to teach you and the good news you have taught us to all of the communities you are part of, to your families, your friends, your classrooms, and workplaces. We hope that you continue to be part of People's Church, and that when our actions do not match the high ideals we have tried to teach you, you lovingly let us know and show us a new way forward. As you make your ways in the world, remember that you are not alone in your commitments. As you bridge into and out of the specific program of a specific congregation that loves you, remember that you are held by our larger faith and by a larger love. Wherever you are, should you need advocates and allies, you should be able to find them in the liberal church. I say should be able to because I can't promise this, but I do promise you that as long as People's Church is, we will support you. We will show up for you. We will love you. That is the promise we make to our children here, and you will never grow out of that. It cannot expire. So on this bridging day, we commission you to go forth and shine. We are so proud of you. We love you, and we cannot wait to see what you do next.
So I dedicate our song this morning to our bridgers, to all of our youth, as well, certainly to all the folks out there, many of us, including many of us who have been raising our voices the past couple weeks for change, for racial justice. It's an exciting, scary time, but also a wonderful time. So we'll sing this song and go on our way. It's hard to believe in the sun in the dark of the night. And it's hard to believe in the stars in the bright morning light. Well, we all need a place we can go. What is real? So ponder the depths of the soul where truth is revealed. Oh, this is our place. This is our home. Working and seeking, we're never alone. In this mortar and stone, these windows and walls, love's earthly home, heeding the call, it's bread for the journey, oil flame, for people of love, people people of hope, people of change. It's hard to believe there is peace when war rages on. And it's hard to believe there is love in hate's raging throng. But for every brave soldier, a peacemaker takes their own stand. And for every soul long turned away, there waits a new hand. Oh, let it be you. Let it be me. Here in love's dwelling, we learn to believe in this mortar and stone, these windows and walls. Love's earth home, heeding the call. It's bread for the journey, oil for the flame, for people of love, people of hope, people of change. We're people of love, people of hope, people of change. We're living out love, living out hope, living out change. Sing out for love, sing out for hope, sing out for change. Now I believe in the sun in the dark of the night.
Keep alert. Stand firm in your faith. Be courageous and be strong. And let all you do be done in love.